What's up, everybody? My name's Ernie Vigil. I live here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I am a professional motorcycle rider, I guess you could say. I don't really have like one discipline, and it's funny, like, you know, thinking back to like where it all started. I grew up racing motocross. Parents didn't really come from like a motorcycle family. My dad had a bike when he was younger, but like was never really into it. So when I was 6 years old, he bought me a Z50, a little Honda dirt bike, and that was kind of like my introduction to motorcycles. From there, I raced motocross. My mom hated every minute of it. She just hated it, but for me, it was something to do. It was an outlet. And I'll never forget, you know, I went from racing motocross for years, and then eventually the same guys that I raced motocross with, we ended up buying sport bikes at the same time, and it was monkey see, monkey do. You know, one guy did a wheelie and the next guy followed, and next thing you know, we went from motocross to street freestyle, or stunt riding, as most people would know it. Everybody's seen those idiots riding down the freeway doing wheelies and stuff like that, and you know, I will admit that was me at one point. I always wanted to ride motorcycles from when I was a kid for a living, and this was like my one opportunity to do it. And I'll never forget, the one thing that kind of like legitimized it for me was, as a kid here in Albuquerque, you go to this place called Tingley Coliseum, which is this coliseum that we have, and you would go there and you'd watch monster trucks, or you'd watch motocross racing. They had a point in time where they had like a track inside, and it was arena cross, and you'd go there and you'd watch. And you know, when you're young, you go in the stadium and you're like, I mean, looking back now, it's a lot smaller, but when you're young, you know, you're in the stadium and you're like, oh wow, you know, those guys down there, they're pros, you know, they're doing it. And I'll never forget the call that I got. This was like when FMX had just kind of kicked off, and they had this series that was like motocross, FMX, and then in the middle they left kind of like the pavement open, and they called us to be able to do stunt shows inside of Tingley Coliseum. You know, this was the place that I grew up going to events at, and now I'm down there on the floor performing for everybody in my city, you know, and for me that was so big, because, you know, I never thought that I would go from sitting in the bleachers to being on the floor, you know, entertaining the people in the bleachers. For me, that was everything, and that was kind of the start of it, kind of fueled the fire for me.